Have you ever felt invisible to love? Have you ever looked around and seen couples smiling, holding hands, and wondered why life seemed to have forgotten about you? Have you gone to sleep with a heavy heart, believing that perhaps love simply wasn't meant for you? This was Emily Parker's life. At 34, she lived in New York, in a small apartment in Brooklyn. She worked as a marketing assistant at a mid-sized company, had friendly colleagues, a structured routine, but when the workday ended, silence followed her like a shadow. There were no good-night messages, no affectionate phone calls, just the cold light of her phone screen that, night after night, seemed to mock her with empty notifications. Emily wasn't a bitter woman, quite the opposite. She was generous, sweet, and had an easy smile. But after years of failed attempts, short-lived relationships, and broken promises, she had started to believe that maybe love wasn't for her. Maybe some people are just born to be alone, she thought silently as she lay in bed each night. On Sundays, she often walked through Prospect Park. She saw families together, couples lying on blankets, children running around. Sometimes she found herself imagining what her life would be like with someone by her side. But that imagination was always cut short by a deep sigh and a phrase she repeated to herself: "It's no use, Emily. This isn't for you." But deep down, there was something that hurt even more: the feeling of not being enough. She compared herself to her friends, many of whom were already married or in stable relationships. Some had children. Others shared smiling photos with their partners on romantic trips. Emily, on the other hand, spent her nights accompanied only by series and books. And no matter how much she tried to convince herself she was fine, there was a huge emptiness she couldn't fill. One night, after returning from a friend's birthday dinner, Emily cried, really cried, with sobs that came from the soul. During the dinner, once again, everyone was accompanied. There were laughs, exchanged kisses, intertwined hands. And there she was, the only single person at the table. On the way home in the subway, she stared at her own reflection in the glass and asked herself, "What's wrong with me?" These questions echoed like hammers in her mind. Am I not beautiful enough? Am I not interesting? Is the problem me? With each question, a piece of her self-esteem crumbled. At that time, Emily's life was marked by a monotonous routine. She woke up early, had breakfast alone, took the crowded subway, spent hours at work, returned home, microwaved something for dinner, and watched TV until she fell asleep. The days repeated like an endless tape. There was something mechanical in her existence, and deep down she had already lost hope that anything would change. Her past relationships didn't help. The last one had ended painfully. A man named Peter, who seemed promising, but cheated on her after 6 months of dating. Before him, there were casual dates, stories that didn't last a month, and even a few unrequited crushes that never materialized. Each failed experience left an invisible scar on her heart. "Maybe I'm just destined to be the nice friend," she told herself, trying to mask the pain with humor. But inside, the emptiness was unbearable. Emily liked to write in a journal, a habit she had carried since her teenage years. There she poured out everything she felt, without filters. On one page, she wrote something that revealed her soul. "I just want someone to share my days with, someone who looks at me and says, 'I am enough.' I don't want luxury, I don't want impossible promises. I just want love. But if it's not meant for me, at least I want to learn to live with this emptiness without so much suffering." This was Emily's state of mind at the time: resignation. She no longer actively sought love, didn't sign up for dating apps, didn't accept blind date invitations. She was tired. Tired of being disappointed. Tired of creating expectations that always ended in frustration. However, fate, or perhaps something greater, was already preparing the stage for change. But at that moment, Emily didn't know it. She believed she was at rock bottom, living what she called the era of silence. One night, as she lay down after a particularly hard day, Emily looked at the dark ceiling and thought, If there is any force in the universe that cares about me, please give me a sign. I just want to believe there is still hope for me." She didn't know it, but that silent request would be the starting point of a profound transformation. Loneliness, though painful, was about to become the seed of something greater. But before any change could occur, Emily would need to face her greatest fears. The fear of never being loved, the fear of not being enough, and the fear of believing in something that seemed impossible. The emptiness of loneliness was not just the absence of company. It was also the absence of faith in herself. Emily had forgotten what it was like to believe in her own worth, and it would be precisely this belief that would open the doors to the unexpected. Thus began the story of Emily Parker, an ordinary woman with dreams, scars, and dimmed hopes. A woman who, amid the silence of her lonely nights, was about to discover that just one thought could change everything.
Have you ever heard of something that seemed too good to be true? Have you ever found yourself doubting an idea, yet feeling a spark of curiosity ignite inside you? That was exactly how Emily Parker had her first contact with the law of attraction. After so many nights of loneliness, Emily had developed a habit: watching YouTube videos before bed. That week, she searched for motivational content, anything that could relieve the pain she carried in her chest. She no longer wanted romantic series or comedies that reminded her of her solitude. She wanted something that could give her at least a spark of hope. One Thursday night, tired after work, she lay in bed, put on her headphones, and opened the app. Among the suggested videos, one title caught her attention: "How Your Thoughts Create Your Reality: The Secret of the Law of Attraction." Emily raised her eyebrows. "Law of attraction? What's that now?" she murmured quietly. At first, she thought it was just another of those empty promises circulating on the internet. But for some reason, she clicked. The video began with a calm, almost hypnotic voice. "Everything you think and feel, you attract into your life. If you live in fear, you attract more fear. If you live in love, you attract more love. The universe responds to your energy, not your words." Emily listened skeptically. Sure, as if just thinking positively will make Prince Charming knock on my door," she said ironically. But at the same time, something in that message made her restless. As the video progressed, the narrator spoke of examples: people who attracted job opportunities, healing from illness, even relationships. Emily sat up straighter in bed, paying closer attention. You don't need to know how. You just need to believe, feel, and act as if you already have what you desire. These words hammered in her mind. In the following days, Emily couldn't stop thinking about it. Could it be that I am creating this reality of loneliness myself? Could it be that believing I'm not enough is pushing any chance of love away? She decided to research more. She downloaded a digital copy of The Secret and began reading on the subway on her way to work. The reading was simple but impactful. Stories of ordinary people who changed their lives simply by changing their thoughts. Emily still doubted, but with each chapter, she felt a mix of disbelief and hope. If these people did it, why couldn't I? One rainy night, she entered a small bookstore near her home. She liked walking by just to smell the books. In the spirituality section, her eyes landed on another title: Creative Visualization by Shakti Gawain. The cover was gentle, almost inviting. Emily flipped through a few pages and found a line that made her shiver. "The mind creates reality. If you can imagine clearly, you can experience it in real life." She closed the book slowly and took a deep breath. A shiver ran down her spine. Could this be the sign I asked for? Emily bought the book and that night began reading it. The words seemed to speak directly to her. The author explained that visualizing what you desire with emotion and clarity is like planting a seed in the invisible field of the universe. If nurtured with faith and positive feelings, this seed blossoms into the physical world. She didn't know for sure if she believed it, but something in her heart told her she had to try. After all, what did she have to lose? That night, sitting on her bed with the book on her lap, Emily made a silent decision. I'm going to try, no matter how silly it seems. I don't want to live like this anymore, in emptiness. I will change my vibration. At first, things weren't easy. Emily realized how much her thoughts were filled with negativity. Whenever she looked in the mirror, the phrase came to mind, "You're not enough." When she saw couples on the street, she felt envy and sadness. It was as if her whole life reflected what she lacked. But the book taught something different. She needed to be grateful for what she already had, and vibrate as if her desire had already been realized. So Emily started slowly. Every morning, before leaving for work, she wrote down 3 things she was grateful for. Sometimes they were simple. I'm grateful for my breakfast. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for the roof over my head. At first, it felt strange, almost forced. But over the days, she began to notice a small change in her energy. Instead of waking up complaining, she started seeing something positive. One day, in the middle of her routine, a phrase from the book struck her deeply. If you desire love, you must first become love. That phrase stayed in her mind for weeks. Emily realized she was looking for someone to fill a void, when in reality, she needed to fill herself. She began imagining every night what it would be like to be in a loving relationship. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and visualized walking beside a man, feeling his warm hand entwined with hers. She imagined candlelit dinners, deep conversations, shared laughter. Sometimes she even heard his voice in her mind, although she didn't yet know who he was. These moments became her refuge, the place where, even alone, she could experience what she so longed for. But with this new practice came doubt. There were nights when Emily laughed at herself. What am I doing? Closing my eyes and imagining a boyfriend who doesn't even exist? This is ridiculous. Yet something inside her insisted. It was like a soft voice saying, "Keep going, just keep going." And she continued. Little by little, Emily began noticing small external changes. At work, colleagues started complimenting her more, saying she looked radiant. At the cafe she visited every morning, the barista smiled and remarked, "You have a different energy today." Even strangers on the street seemed to look at her more kindly. She wondered, could it already be working? These signs were still subtle, but enough to keep her motivated. For the first time in a long time, Emily felt a spark of hope. By then, she didn't know exactly where this journey would take her. But one thing was clear. The loneliness that had crushed her no longer carried the same weight. There was a new space inside her, a space beginning to be filled with faith. And that faith would be the fuel for the transformation that would change her life forever.
Have you ever tried to change an old habit and realized how much your mind insists on pulling you back into old patterns? Have you ever caught yourself repeating the same negative thoughts, even when you deeply wanted to think differently? Emily Parker discovered through experience that changing her vibration was much more than just repeating beautiful phrases. It was a daily process, almost a silent battle between who she had been and who she wanted to become. At first, it felt strange. Every morning, she would get up, go to the small table in the living room, and open the notebook she had bought specifically for her gratitude practices. She wrote 3 phrases. I am grateful for my life. I am grateful for my home. I am grateful for being healthy. The pen glided across the paper, but inside, she often still felt empty. It was as if an inner voice mocked her. Do you really believe this? Nothing special is happening in your life. You're still alone, still living the same routine. But Emily remembered what she had read. Consistency was the key. So even without feeling it, she wrote. Even without fully believing, she continued. As the days went by, she began to notice that at certain moments, the act of giving thanks brought her a real sense of lightness. It was during this period that Emily also adopted the practice of guided meditation.
She found on YouTube an audio titled Manifesting True Love, Guided Visualization. The first time she listened, she felt ridiculous. Sitting on her bed, eyes closed, imagining a man hugging her, while a soft voice said, "Feel as if he is already by your side. Feel the warmth of his touch, the joy in your heart, the peace of the connection." Emily almost laughed at herself, but she decided to continue. At the end of the meditation, something curious happened. She felt strangely calm, as if, for a few minutes, she had truly believed in it. It was a sense of relief, as if she had traveled to a reality where love was already part of her life. That moment was her first glimpse of what it meant to change her vibration. It wasn't about what she saw in the outside world, but about what she cultivated within herself. Even so, the difficulties didn't disappear. There were days when Emily woke up in a bad mood, looked in the mirror, and saw only dark circles and fatigue. On those mornings, the old thoughts returned. You will never find anyone. It was in these moments that she fought her greatest battle. Instead of giving in to sadness, Emily took a deep breath and tried to redirect her energy. Sometimes she forced herself to smile at herself in the mirror, even if it was a fake smile. Other times, she repeated affirmations she had written on Post-its and stuck around her room. "I am worthy of love. The relationship of my dreams is already on its way. I deserve to be happy." At first, it felt mechanical, but over time, these phrases began to feel less strange. Gradually, the belief that maybe love could actually happen started to grow. One night, Emily decided to do something different. She lit a candle, played soft music, and sat down to write a letter to her future self. In the letter, she described what her life would be like alongside the man she loved. She wrote about trips, dinners at home, mutual support in difficult times. She even described the details of how it felt to wake up next to him. The peace, the joy, the sense of security. When she finished, she read it aloud and cried. But this time, they were not tears of pain. They were tears of hope. For the first time, Emily had allowed herself to truly feel what it would be like to live that reality. In the following days, small things began to change. At work, Emily noticed that she got irritated less often. When someone made an unpleasant comment, instead of absorbing it, she took a deep breath and let it pass. She felt lighter. On the subway, she looked at people with a different perspective. Instead of envying couples, she began smiling at them, silently wishing them happiness. Surprisingly, this brought an unexpected peace. And perhaps most curiously, Emily began noticing how people reacted differently to her. The barista at the cafe started chatting more. A colleague at work commented that she was radiant lately. Even strangers in the supermarket or on the street seemed to look at her with kindness. It was as if the world was reflecting the new energy she was emitting. But changing her vibration was not a straight line. There were relapses. One Saturday night, Emily received photos in her friends group showing a double date, everyone accompanied except her. Her heart ached. She cried. She thought about giving up. None of this works. I'm still alone. However, instead of remaining in that state, she remembered her practices. She sat on her bed, played meditation music, and took a deep breath. She closed her eyes and imagined herself once again accompanied, happy, complete. Gradually, the weight in her chest began to dissolve. She realized that changing her vibration didn't mean never feeling sadness again, but learning not to sink into it. As the weeks passed, Emily began creating small rituals. Upon waking, she played cheerful music and danced alone while making her coffee. During walks in the park, instead of thinking about what she lacked, she mentally thanked the beauty of the trees, the sun, and the simple fact of being alive. These small changes accumulated. Each day, Emily felt herself becoming a lighter, more confident version of herself. And on an autumn night, something magical happened. While walking home, she looked at the sky and saw a shooting star. Instinctively, she closed her eyes and made a wish. may I be ready to receive the love the universe has for me. When she opened her eyes, she smiled. For the first time in years, it wasn't a forced smile, it was real. Emily didn't yet know it, but that renewed vibration was about to open doors that would change her life forever. The universe had already begun responding silently. Have you ever closed your eyes and, even knowing it was only imagination, felt as if you were truly living it? Have you ever experienced a moment when the mind seemed so powerful that the body reacted as if the scene were real? That was exactly what Emily Parker discovered when she immersed herself in the power of visualization. Until then, she had been practicing gratitude, affirmations, and small meditation exercises. But over time, she realized there was something deeper, the ability to imagine love as if it were already part of her life. Not as a distant dream, but as a present experience. One Sunday night, after a tiring day, Emily played soft music, turned off the lights, and lit a candle. She sat comfortably on her bed, closed her eyes, and began taking deep breaths. She remembered what she had read in Shakti Gawain's book. Visualize with all your senses. The more real it feels, the faster it becomes part of your reality. Then she tried. First, she imagined being in a cozy cafe, sitting across from the man of her dreams. She didn't know his face, but she could feel his presence. She visualized their hands touching on the table, the sound of laughter, the warmth in his eyes. With each detail, her heart beat faster. Suddenly, she realized she was genuinely smiling, even alone in the room. In the following days, Emily made visualization part of her nightly routine. Every night, she dedicated at least 15 minutes to imagining moments with a loving partner. Sometimes it was walks in the park, other times trips, dinners, or simply the simple act of waking up next to him and feeling the peace of no longer being alone. At first, it felt like a game, but soon she realized something different was happening. After each session, she felt more confident, happier, as if she had truly lived in it. The sense of emptiness, once constant, began to be filled with something new, hope. She then understood that she wasn't just dreaming. She was training her mind and emotions to vibrate in the state of love. Visualization also began affecting her practical life. At work, her posture changed. Previously withdrawn, she now appeared more open, willing to talk and smile. In meetings, she spoke with more confidence, as if discovering a new self-assurance. On the subway, she no longer walked looking at the ground. She observed the people around her with curiosity, as if waiting for a sign. And curiously, she began noticing different looks. Unknown men stared at her, smiled, some even started conversations. Nothing serious had happened yet, but Emily noticed her energy was truly different. She remembered a phrase she had heard in one of the videos. You don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. And she felt more and more that she was becoming the version of herself that already lived in love. But visualization wasn't just about imagining the future. It was also about transforming the present. Emily began realizing it was an exercise in emotions. When she imagined being loved, she awakened feelings of joy, security, and fulfillment within herself. One night, after one of these visualization sessions, Emily wrote in her journal, "Today I realized that the love I seek already exists within me. What I wish to find outside is only a reflection of what I am already creating here inside." This realization was powerful. For the first time in many years, Emily felt she desperately needs someone to fill her emptiness.
Have you ever deeply wished for something, and just when it seemed you were getting close, felt as if the universe was testing your patience? Have you ever wondered if everything you believed in was real when obstacles appeared in unexpected ways? This is exactly how Emily Parker experienced the universe's tests. After weeks of gratitude practices, visualizations, and subtle changes in her vibration, Emily felt different. There was a lightness in her heart that she hadn't felt in years. But as she discovered, aligning with love didn't mean life would instantly become perfect. In fact, it was just the beginning of a process of silent trials. The first major test came in the form of a frustrating date. Emily had met a man named Michael on a friendship platform, and for a few days their connection seemed promising. He was kind, funny, and attentive. For a moment, Emily felt she might be approaching the love she had been visualizing. But on the third date, Michael disappeared without explanation. He didn't answer messages or calls. The pain of abandonment returned with force. Emily felt her heart tighten, and the old thoughts of inadequacy came back violently. "I will never find anyone. Why does this always happen to me?" At that moment, the temptation to give up was overwhelming. She sat on her bed, hugged her pillow, and cried as she had in her darkest times. But between the sobs, she remembered the practices she had been cultivating. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and repeated, "This is just a test. The universe is preparing me for something greater." And, though it was difficult, Emily returned to meditating, visualizing, and giving thanks. Soon after, another challenge appeared, more subtly: internal doubt. Even seeing external changes, she still had moments of insecurity. Sometimes she looked at happy couples on the street and felt a pang of envy. Sometimes messages from old suitors made her question if she was truly attracting the right person. Emily realized that the universe's tests weren't only external. They came from within. It was her mind, her skepticism, and her old limiting beliefs trying to pull her back into the old pattern of scarcity and loneliness. But with each internal challenge, she found an opportunity to grow. She learned to observe her thoughts, question their truth, and replace them with affirmations that strengthened her faith. "I am worthy of true love. The love I desire is already on its way. Every experience brings me closer to my ideal relationship." Emily also began noticing small signs of how the universe tested her persistence. One day, while walking to work, she passed a bookstore that had recently closed. She had planned to buy a book on visualization there, but now the store no longer existed. Frustration hit instantly. At that moment, she thought, "Everything conspires against me. Nothing works." But then, remembering the lessons from the book she had read, she took a deep breath and changed her thought. "If this happened, it's because something better is on its way. I trust the universe." A few hours later, a friend called and said she had a copy of the book at home and could lend it to her. Emily felt a thrill. It was as if the universe had only changed the path, not denied the desire. Another significant test came through her social interactions. Emily had a friend named Jake who always offered skeptical advice. "Emily, this law of attraction stuff is nonsense. You need to act, not just think." Emily could feel the weight of doubt those words brought. But instead of getting upset, she breathed and reminded herself that faith in her own vibration was essential. Over time, she learned to listen without being shaken, maintaining consistency in her practices. Then came the small contradictory signs. One day, Emily saw an interesting man on the subway. He smiled at her. Her heart raced, but before she could approach, he left the station. On the same day, she received an old message from someone who hadn't valued her. It was confusing, it was frustrating, but Emily began noticing the pattern. Each obstacle came to reinforce the importance of patience and persistence. The universe seemed to be saying, "You're almost there, but you need to keep your vibration intact." Emily realized the universe's tests had a surprising effect. The more she resisted frustration and maintained her visualization and gratitude practices, the stronger her faith became. Each challenge turned into an opportunity to grow. Each disappointment became fuel to believe even more. She began to understand something crucial. The law of attraction didn't work like magic. It wasn't about wishing and instantly receiving. It was about aligning internally, overcoming doubt, and persisting even when everything around seemed contrary. One night, after a particularly difficult day, Emily sat on her apartment balcony looking at the city lights.
She thought about all the recent obstacles, Michael, the closed bookstore, her friend's skeptical comments. She felt the weight of it all, but took a deep breath and said to herself, "All of this is part of my path. Every test brings me closer to the love I desire. I trust the universe." In that moment, Emily felt something shift inside her. A sense of peace filled her chest. She realized that even amid difficulties, her energy remained aligned with the vibration of love. And it was then that she understood the true lesson. The tests were not punishments, but opportunities for growth, signs that something greater was about to happen. Emily also began celebrating small victories. An unexpected smile from a stranger, a pleasant conversation at work, the feeling of lightness after meditation. All of this reinforced her faith. Every sign confirmed she was on the right path and that eventually the universe would deliver what she had imagined and felt so intensely. Over time, Emily became resilient. Loneliness no longer shook her as much. Setbacks were just small reminders, and each obstacle turned into a lesson. Her vibration was stronger, clearer, more powerful than ever. And without her yet knowing it, the universe was already preparing the encounter that would change her life forever.
Have you ever felt that the universe is trying to tell you something? Have you noticed coincidences so perfect that it seemed impossible for them to be random? For Emily Parker, this was the moment life began speaking to her clearly. The signs were everywhere. After weeks of maintaining her visualization and gratitude practice, Emily began noticing patterns that would have previously gone unnoticed. Every little detail seemed to carry a message, a confirmation that she was on the right path. One morning, while having coffee, Emily opened her visualization book and read again the phrase that inspired her the most. Imagine, feel, and live love as if it is already present in your life. Closing her eyes for a few moments, she felt a wave of emotion sweep through her body. When she opened them, she noticed her journal was open exactly to the page where she had written about her ideal relationship. She smiled, sensing it was a subtle reminder from the universe. You are on the right track. On the subway, something similar happened. Emily was distracted, thinking about recent challenges, when she heard someone say her name. She looked around and didn't see anyone she knew. Minutes later, she realized the voice came from a portable radio in the station, playing a podcast about the law of attraction, specifically about visualization and signs from the universe. This couldn't be a coincidence. She began recording these small synchronicities in a special notebook. Every moment seemed to reinforce the belief that something greater was acting in her favor. A man at the cafe mentioned a book she wanted to read. A car with a personalized license plate had the initials of the man she had imagined. Songs played exactly when she needed comfort or inspiration. One of the most striking experiences happened on a Saturday afternoon. Emily was walking through the park when she suddenly saw a couple hugging under a tree. They were laughing and seemed deeply connected. Emily stopped and smiled, then noticed something incredible. The man was carrying a bag with the logo of a brand she had dreamed of having in the future. During visualization sessions where she imagined scenes with her ideal partner. Her heart raced. This is a sign. The universe is responding. From that day on, Emily began noticing signs in even the smallest details. The number of pages in books she opened by chance, phrases on street advertisements, messages on social media. Every detail seemed perfectly aligned with the thoughts she had been maintaining in her daily practice. At work, the signs appeared even more remarkably. Emily received unexpected compliments, small acts of kindness, and opportunities that seemed to arise out of nowhere. A colleague casually mentioned a friend who, according to him, would be perfect for someone special, without knowing that Emily desired exactly that. Every coincidence, no matter how small, reinforced the sense that her energy was attracting experiences aligned with her desire. She began writing some of these experiences in her journal.
Today, the universe showed me that everything I imagined is becoming real. Every detail, every moment is a confirmation that I am on the right path. I feel my heart vibrating higher, and I know something big is about to happen. Emily also noticed that her intuition had sharpened. She began feeling impulses to make different choices, visit places she wouldn't normally choose, or speak to people she might have previously overlooked. Every decision, even small, seemed guided by something invisible, as if the universe were whispering to her, "Trust, keep going, love is coming." One example happened on a rainy night. Emily decided to enter a cafe she had never frequented. There, the barista casually mentioned a community event for singles interested in conscious relationships. Without thinking, Emily wrote down the information. Little did she know that this event would be a crucial turning point in her journey to find the love she had been visualizing. The signs weren't only external. Emily began feeling internal changes. Whenever she thought about love, she felt genuine joy, a sense of completeness, and positive anticipation. Even small daily challenges began to be interpreted as tests or opportunities for growth. When something didn't go as planned, she told herself, "It's all part of the plan. The universe is preparing me for the best." This shift in perspective transformed her emotional state. Instead of frustration and sadness, Emily felt confidence, hope, and a magnetic energy that seemed to attract experiences aligned with her desire. One night, while reflecting on all these synchronicities, Emily realized something astonishing. The universe wasn't just giving signs, it was building a narrative around her, a carefully synchronized storyline to guide her toward the love she deserved. She felt deep gratitude and decided never to underestimate the small details again, knowing each carried significant meaning. She wrote in her journal, "The signs are everywhere. Every detail, every encounter, every word, every smile, all show me that the love I desire is already on its way. I just need to keep trusting and maintaining my vibration." Emily was approaching the turning point. Every synchronicity, every coincidence was like an invisible clue pointing toward true love. She knew that soon the next steps in her journey would reveal not only who the man she had been visualizing was, but also how this connection would be deeply transformative for both of them. The universe silently continued to conspire in her favor, showing that when mind and heart are aligned, signs and miracles appear unexpectedly, yet perfectly synchronized.
Have you ever felt that something was about to happen, even without knowing exactly what? Have you ever had that sense that the universe was about to fulfill a silent promise? For Emily Parker, that moment arrived unexpectedly, almost magically. After weeks of maintaining her daily practice of visualization, gratitude, and meditation, Emily began noticing increasingly clear signs that her journey was about to take a leap. Synchronicities multiplied. Small encounters, coincidences, and messages appeared in ways that once seemed impossible. But nothing prepared her for the moment when her path would cross with his. It was a Thursday afternoon. Emily had decided, almost on impulse, to attend a community event promoted by her favorite cafe, a gathering for people interested in conscious relationships. She had marked the event days earlier, following one of the many signs the universe had placed on her path, but she still didn't know what to expect. The hall was full of people, each with their own stories, hopes, and expectations. Emily felt a mix of nervousness and excitement, but she remembered the practices she had been cultivating. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes for a moment, and visualized the energy of love, feeling every detail as if she were already experiencing that moment. And then he appeared. It wasn't a dramatic or planned encounter. He walked through the door with a calm smile and an air of kindness that seemed to radiate warmth. Emily felt her heart race uncontrollably. He approached the group, and when their eyes met for the first time, it was as if something inside her immediately recognized, it's him. His name was Bennett. They knew nothing about each other yet, but there was a sense of familiarity, as if their paths had been laid out long ago, even before they met. Emily felt an intense emotion course through her body, a mix of joy, relief, and deep recognition. The first interaction was simple but full of meaning. Lucas greeted her with a warm smile and a casual question. "Did you also come through the meditation group?" Emily smiled lightly, surprised by the coincidence, and replied, "Actually, it was a bit out of curiosity, but yes, I like meditating and meeting people with positive energy." The conversation flowed naturally. Every sentence seemed to fit perfectly, as if they had talked many times before. There was no rush, no tension, just a gentle, genuine, and intense connection. As they talked, Emily noticed details she had imagined during her visualizations. His kindness, the way he smiled, the way he looked into her eyes, conveying attention and respect. Every gesture, every word, seems to align with the scenario she had been visualizing for weeks. The meeting lasted for hours. They shared life stories, dreams, meditation experiences, and spiritual practices. Emily felt she could be completely authentic, without fear of judgment, and Lucas seemed equally open and present. It was as if both had been silently preparing for this moment, and now they were finally ready to meet. At one point, Lucas said something that made Emily smile. "You know, there's something about you that reminds me of something I've been looking for, even without knowing what it was." Emily shivered. It was exactly the feeling she had been seeking in her visualizations. Soul recognition, that sense of completeness when near someone who truly understood and matched her energy. In the following days, Emily reflected on the meeting. She realized something fundamental. The universe had not only fulfilled her desire, but had created the perfect conditions for the encounter to happen naturally, unexpectedly, and deeply aligned with her vibration. No forced effort, no strange coincidences, just perfect synchronization between her energy and the reality around her. She wrote in her journal, "Lucas appeared in a way I could never have planned. Everything I visualized, felt, and gave thanks for is manifesting in ways I cannot fully explain. I feel that this is just the beginning of something amazing." Even after the first meeting, Emily maintained her visualization and gratitude practices. She knew the universe had not only brought Lucas to her, but was also continuously shaping the relationship, preparing both of them to experience love fully and consciously. Every conversation, every smile, every small gesture was a reminder that the right energy attracts corresponding experiences. She also realized that the real magic wasn't just in finding someone, but in the entire process of personal transformation that allowed her to be ready to receive him. Without the internal shift, without aligned vibration, this encounter would never have happened. And so the universe, silently, began revealing the next stage of the story, the creation of a true relationship, based not on need or lack, but on deep connection, reciprocity, and genuine love. Emily knew the journey was only beginning, but she felt something she had never felt before: complete trust in the flow of life and in the power of the law of attraction. Have you ever felt that someone seemed to know every piece of your heart, even without sharing everything? Have you ever noticed a connection so intense that words seemed unnecessary? For Emily Parker, this was the next chapter of her journey, experiencing a deep and transformative connection with Lucas Bennett. After the unexpected meeting, Emily and Lucas began seeing each other more frequently. There was no rush, no forced expectation. Each meeting felt natural, as if time had been made just for them. Emily felt that every conversation, every gesture, was an extension of the energy she had been cultivating for weeks, months, and that was now beginning to manifest concretely. They shared life stories, dreams, challenges, and experiences that few people could understand. Emily discovered she could be vulnerable, show her insecurities, doubts, and hopes without fear of judgment. Lucas responded with empathy, attention, and respect. This exchange created a sense of security and belonging Emily had never experienced before. On a rainy afternoon, while walking through a park, Lucas commented, "It's strange how, since we met, I feel like I already knew you somehow."
Emily smiled, feeling the same way. Every word he said seemed to echo exactly what she had imagined in her visualizations. It was confirmation that the connection went beyond the physical. It was deeply aligned with the emotional and spiritual. The relationship also began revealing small synchronicities that reinforced Emily's sense that everything was happening according to her vibration. They enjoyed the same books, shared music tastes, and had similar interests in meditation and personal growth. Every detail seemed like an extension of the scenes Emily had been visualizing in her mind. A remarkable example occurred during a simple dinner at a local cafe. Emily casually mentioned a trip she had always dreamed of taking to Italy. Lucas smiled and said, "Coincidence or not, I'm planning a trip there too. Maybe we could go together someday." Emily's heart raced. Every coincidence seemed like another piece of the universe's puzzle, consolidating not only physical attraction, but a deep alignment of values, dreams, and energies. Over time, Emily realized this deep connection also had a transformative effect on herself. Lucas's presence reinforced her self-confidence, self-love, and joy for life. The energy she had cultivated through the law of attraction now found tangible reflections in her daily life. She noticed subtle changes in herself: more patience, more understanding, more openness to what life had to offer. The love emerging between them was not based on need, but on mutual appreciation and respect. Every gesture, every glance seemed to say, "You are exactly who you should be, and I am here to share this journey with you." Lucas also demonstrated attention and sensitivity that Emily rarely found in others. He remembered details from past conversations, genuinely cared about her well-being, and even in simple moments created meaningful memories. One day he brought a small keepsake of a flower Emily had mentioned weeks before. For her, it wasn't just the gift, but the intention and care behind it that created a deep emotional connection. With each meeting, Emily felt the relationship grow not only in intensity, but in depth. It wasn't just romance, it was a union of souls recognizing and respecting each other's journey. The love blossoming between them began manifesting in everyday life as well. Small gestures of affection, support in decisions, meaningful conversations, and shared laughter created a sense of fulfillment Emily had never felt before. It was a genuine experience of reciprocity, where each action reinforced the positive energy and vibrational alignment. She reflected in her journal, "I never imagined love could be so deep and serene. It's not just about being with someone, it's about feeling that my energy is recognized, valued, and reciprocated. I feel complete, and every moment with Lucas reminds me of the power of faith, visualization, and gratitude." The deep connection also brought challenges, but they were different from anything Emily had faced before. Instead of crises of insecurity or distrust, the challenges involved natural adjustments between two real people, learning to balance desires, opinions, and boundaries. Even in these moments, Emily realized that open communication, respect, and empathy were key to overcoming any obstacle. Each challenge became an opportunity for joint growth, strengthening the relationship and deepening the harmony between them. Every day, Emily felt confirmed that the universe had not only brought Lucas to her, but had also created perfect conditions for this relationship to flourish in a healthy and genuine way. The deep connection wasn't just about dates or romance. It was about energy alignment, mutual respect, and the manifestation of conscious, transformative love. And as Emily and Lucas continued exploring life side by side, she understood that this connection.
Have you ever felt that the love you always wished for has finally become part of your life? Have you ever noticed that a connection with someone goes beyond attraction, coincidences, and romantic moments, transforming into something solid, transformative, and lasting? For Emily Parker, this was the final stage of her journey of attraction and manifestation, the consolidation of true love with Lucas Bennett. After months of meetings, deep conversations, and shared experiences, Emily and Lucas reached a point where the relationship was no longer just exciting, but had become stable, secure, and harmonious. It wasn't just about passion. It was about trust, respect, complicity, and a connection that touched every aspect of their lives. The consolidation of love began with small daily habits that strengthened their bond. They created a routine of morning messages, little gestures of affection, regular meetings, and shared gratitude practices. Every action seemed to reinforce not only their emotional connection, but also the positive vibration that united them. Emily realized that the key wasn't only in what Lucas did, but also in how she herself vibrated. By keeping her energy elevated, aligned with love and gratitude, she naturally attracted reciprocity. Love didn't need to be forced, it flowed, and every gesture from Lucas confirmed the alignment of their energies. Of course, there were moments of challenge. Disagreements arose, but they were resolved through open communication, empathy, and understanding. Emily realized that, unlike past relationships, there was no room for games, manipulation, or unnecessary insecurities. The solid foundation of their relationship was the authenticity of both, and that transformed every obstacle into an opportunity for joint growth. One evening, after a minor disagreement about future plans, Emily and Lucas sat down to talk. Each shared feelings, expectations, and fears. The conversation ended with a silent hug, a deep look, and the certainty that, despite differences, they were committed to mutual growth. Beyond emotional love, the relationship also impacted other aspects of Emily's life. She became more confident at work, more joyful in social interactions, and more generous with herself and others. Lucas, in turn, also benefited from her presence, feeling inspired to explore new opportunities, deepen his spirituality, and live more consciously. Together, they created a space of safety and inspiration. They could laugh, cry, and share dreams and fears without judgment. Every everyday experience, a walk in the park, cooking together, talking about books or movies, became a moment of deep and true connection. The consolidation of love also manifested in tangible signs from the universe. One day, while planning a trip, they encountered incredible coincidences. The same places they had visualized individually, connections with people sharing similar interests, and unexpected opportunities that seemed to appear out of nowhere. Emily smiled, remembering the words she had learned throughout her journey. What you vibrate, you attract. Every synchronicity reinforced the feeling that the relationship wasn't just the result of random encounters, but a manifestation of clear intentions and aligned vibration. The love Emily and Lucas experienced was a tangible reflection of all the inner work she had done: visualization, gratitude, patience, and faith. They also began creating dreams together. They planned trips, personal projects, life experiences, and shared goals. Every plan was discussed with enthusiasm, every decision made in partnership, strengthening the sense of unity and commitment. Love was not just a feeling, but a force that propelled both toward fuller versions of themselves. Emily recorded these moments in her journal. The love I always wished for is not only magical, it is real, solid, transformative. Lucas is not just my partner, he is a reflection of my vibration, my faith, and my ability to open myself to what the universe has in store. I feel complete, loved, and grateful every day. The consolidated relationship also brought the understanding that true love doesn't depend on need, lack, or haste. It is based on the conscious choice to be present, daily appreciation of the other, and commitment to personal growth and the growth of the partnership. Emily and Lucas learned to celebrate small victories, overcome challenges, and value every moment together, knowing that love flourishes where there is respect, understanding, and shared energy. Over time, Emily realized that loneliness no longer existed. The emptiness she had felt for years disappeared, replaced by fulfillment, joy, and trust in the flow of life. Every sign from the universe, every synchronicity, and every gratitude practice she had maintained contributed to making this love solid and transformative. And so love was consolidated. Emily didn't just find the partner she had always visualized, she also became a more conscious, confident, and vibrant person. The law of attraction didn't just bring a relationship, it brought complete transformation, showing that when the mind, heart, and energy are aligned, the universe responds with experiences that go far beyond expectations. The love Emily and Lucas shared was now living proof that the power of visualization, faith, and gratitude can transform lives deeply and permanently. Have you ever noticed how a single thought can change your entire life? How persistence, gratitude, and faith can create realities that once seemed impossible? For Emily Parker, the story didn't end just with meeting Lucas Bennett and consolidating their love. True transformation manifested in every aspect of her life, showing that the law of attraction doesn't only act on isolated desires, but on the whole system of who you are. After months of consistent practice, visualization, meditation, and connection with her own energy, Emily experienced profound changes. It wasn't just love manifesting. Her mind, body, emotions, and even professional life began aligning with the vibration of abundance and positivity she cultivated. Before Lucas entered her life, Emily often felt anxious and insecure. Her self-esteem fluctuated, and small setbacks seemed like enormous obstacles. But from the moment she decided to shift her vibration, everything began to transform. She realized that every experience, every challenge, and every sign from the universe had been pieces of a grand puzzle, leading her to the life she truly desired. The love with Lucas became the most tangible manifestation of this process, but not the only one. Emily began noticing unexpected opportunities in her career. Projects that had seemed unattainable started to materialize. She received invitations, recognition, and connections that would have previously seemed impossible. Everything seemed to flow more easily, and the confidence she felt in herself directly influenced her choices and results. The transformation also extended to her personal relationships. Emily began radiating a lighter, positive, and welcoming energy. Friends and family noticed her change and felt inspired by her growth. Conversations that had once been difficult became more harmonious. Conflicts that had once shaken her were now resolved with serenity and understanding. She realized that by changing her own vibration, she was influencing not only her reality, but also the reality of those around her. The joy, peace, and confidence she cultivated became contagious, creating a multiplying effect. Emily's spiritual growth also intensified. She began meditating regularly, practicing gratitude daily, and visualizing not only love, but all areas of her life she wished to transform. Every thought aligned with her intention generated a sense of fulfillment, showing that the energy we emit returns in often unexpected but always perfect ways for our highest good. The constant practice of the law of attraction taught her something essential. It's not just about wishing, but about feeling, believing, and aligning with what you want. Lucas's love, professional opportunities, inner peace, and happiness were not coincidences. They were direct manifestations of her vibration, clarity, and faith. Emily also realized the importance of celebrating every achievement, every sign from the universe, every joyful moment. She began recording her victories in a journal, continuously reinforcing her belief in the law of attraction. This daily practice of gratitude and recognition not only strengthened her energy, but also accelerated the flow of positive experiences in her life. Every step of her journey showed that transformation doesn't happen just from the outside in, but primarily from the inside out. By aligning her thoughts, feelings, and actions with love, abundance, and happiness, Emily experienced a life that had once seemed only a dream. The impact of this transformation was so profound that Emily decided to share her experience with others. She realized that her story could inspire those who felt trapped in loneliness, scarcity, or doubt. Her story became a living testament that it is possible to manifest profound changes through the law of attraction, as long as you maintain focus, gratitude, and trust in the universe's process. In love, Emily and Lucas continued to grow together, celebrating each stage of their life with joy and awareness.
The relationship became an example of healthy partnership, deep connection, and mutual respect. But most importantly, Emily felt that her entire life had transformed. Loneliness gave way to fulfillment, doubt to trust, fear to joy, and scarcity to abundance. And then Emily reflected on everything that had happened. Everything started with a thought, but faith, gratitude, and persistence completely transformed my life. If I could manifest the love of my dreams and change my reality, you can too. Now it's your turn. Share in the comments the desire you want to manifest with the law of attraction and how you have been working on your vibration for it. We want to hear your story. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to follow new, real, and transformative stories of people who changed their lives using the law of attraction. Every video is an inspiration for you to create the life you've always dreamed of. Remember, your vibration is the key. Believe, feel, and manifest. The universe is waiting to conspire in your favor.